are listening to WZRD Chicago, 88.3 FM on your radio dial. And I have here in the studio with me right now one of the greatest blessings to the Chicago poetry community, Janet Kuypers, who's a fabulously gifted poet, and just so fortunate to have her here with us today. Welcome, Janet.
Oh, hi there. I'm not usually such gooey niceness said about me. You're so kind.
Gooey.
You're all gooey and sweet and gushy.
Okay, so Janet hosts a poetry reading on Tuesday nights here in Chicago. It's on Lincoln and at a place called the Cafe.
It is just south of Foster Avenue at 5115 North Lincoln Avenue. It starts every Tuesday night. Open mic first before a feature, unless the feature wants to go first, but it starts between 8:30 and 8:45 every evening. If you wanted to know anything about the cafe at all, you can always go online to chaoticarts.org/thecafe. There's a list of all the feature schedules and who the features could be and what all is all about the cafe. I know that the owners of the cafe, because it is a restaurant, and nobody ever gets food there. And so there's a $2 cover to get in, and there's a 2-drink minimum. Now, that could be water. I'd like water. You know, you get bottled water or something, and that's fine. I think actually if you get food, you only have to get 1 drink or something. But I mean, it's a really reasonable.
I didn't realize that they were serving food.
It's a restaurant. It's a long-running restaurant.
Really?
You know, but then sometimes if there are problems, there might not be a restaurant open, but they're open for the poetry, and so come on by. We've got a great little space, and I've been running it since the beginning of 2010, and I started up the website for it, which has a schedule for all features, blah, 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 and I've started video stuff for it. We've got a weekly podcast that you can go to, and you can actually get subscribed to and be part of the podcast, and all features get a video link up on YouTube as well.
Ooh, that is so nice.
So they've got that at least. And a lot of people have said to me, it's like, oh, well, friends couldn't make it or whatever, but they feel grateful that they can at least check out the feature and see how it went later on.
Sure.
So that's always there, and if you want to know anything about it, come bug me and Janet through that website. That's just fine. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
No
So you have here some poetry to share with us.
Oh, well, you know, I always have poetry to share, but I have a book that was previously published called, I love the title, Closed Cover Before Striking. It just went through its second printing. It has a different cover with a bunch of matches, like Closed Cover Before Striking.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I actually was trying to put pieces together for an audio CD version of this book. So if I can get some of these fun poems in a way, I think some of these spots from the radio could actually appear on an audio CD.
Sure, I can see that.
Yay! So I had some. Oh, you looking at my shirt? There's a globe on it. It's all a bunch of dots on it, and it says "Peas on Earth."
Okay, I get it.
So yeah, so they're like, oh, you'll get a kick out of that peas on
That's
Earth.
great, that's great. And especially we were talking about, I don't know if you were able to find anything or not, but you know, one of the things we're doing this quarter at WZRD, which is a free-form radio station, yes, but we do have some boundaries. And we would like, we like every quarter, we have like a quarterly issues agenda where we need to talk about certain things. And this quarter, we decided to talk about nuclear energy for some reason. I contacted Greenpeace. I contacted Citizens Against Privatization of Our Water, but I haven't heard back from either of them. So you're here.
Well, I was going to say, you mentioned the nuclear thing, and I thought of the water retention tank that you usually associate with nuclear power plants that I have as a cover of one of the past issues of a magazine that I'm an editor for.
Oh, right.
CC&D magazine. It's called Children, Churches, and Daddies. It's actually named after a poem that talks about the dysfunctionality of those things. But if you actually want to, here's another web address for you, scars.tv. There's information about 2 literary magazines there that I'm the editor of. And I think in 2010, the June issue, which was like the 17-year anniversary issue, had that water tower thing, which was from a live nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania. I cannot remember where, but
Wow,
So
wow,
I was like,
wow.
and that made me think of that as well.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I
Now,
can't think off the top of my head of nuclear poems.
But you're really concerned about the environment yourself. I mean, you're a living, breathing activist because you are a vegetarian.
Yes, I am. Wow. And I hate to actually bring it up. I mean, you're looking at my folder. It says JanaKuypers.com on it in huge letters. Well, I was doing a show, and I said, well, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm holding this folder. You've got a big address on it. You can see it.
It's nice.
And actually, I do have a long nature piece, which is in this book.
Oh, you do?
If you would like.
Oh,
I don't know
beautiful.
if you've heard it before. It's called
No.
Everything Was Alive and Dying. It's a nice long piece, but I guess that would be a great way if you're willing to take,
Sure.
5 to 10 minutes for a long poem. It talks about all sorts of nature issues. It does not talk about nuclear power or nuclear power, depending on which president you're talking about.
I think I might be able to pull up something on nuclear power and read about it, so that'll cover me. And I'm going to do that while you read your poem, so please don't take this as any kind of an affront while I'm typing away at the computer trying to find something. But you go ahead.
Well, maybe I can pull this off for an audio CD release as well.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I
love it. Yes. You're such a great reader and a performance artist.
This is a poem called Everything Was Alive and Dying. I had a dream the other night. I walked out of a city to a forest, and there were neatly paved bicycle paths, and trash cans every 50 feet, and trash every 10. And then a raccoon came right up to me. She had a few little baby raccoons following her. It was so cute. I wish I had my camera. And she spoke to me, and she said, "Thank you. Thank you for not buying furs. I know you humans are pretty smart, but you have to be able to figure out a way to keep yourselves warm without killing me." And I said, "You know they don't do it for warmth. They do it for fashion. They do it for power." And she said, "I know, but thank you anyway." And then I walked a little further, and there was a stray cat. She still had her little neon collar on with a little bell. And she walked a few feet, stretched her front paws. Oh, she looked so darling. And then she came right up to me, and she said, "Thank you." And I said, "For what?" And then she just looked at me for a moment, and her little ears were standing straight up. And she said, "You know, in some countries, I'm considered a delicacy." And I said, "How do you know of these things?" And she said, "When someone eats one of you, word gets around." And then she looked up at me again, and she said, "And in some countries, the cow is sacred. Wouldn't they love to see how you humans prepare them for slaughter, how you hang them upside down and slit their throats so their still beating hearts will drain out all the blood for you?" And she said, "Isn't it funny how arbitrary your decision to eat meat is?" And I said, "Don't put me in that category. I don't eat meat." And she said, "I know." And then I walked deeper into the forest, managed to get away from the picnic tables and the outhouses that lined the forest edges. The roaring cars gave way to the rustling of tree branches, crackling of fallen leaves under my step. And when the wind tunneled through, the wind whistled and sang as it flew past the bark and leaves. I walked, listened to the crack of dead branches under my feet, and I felt a branch upon my shoulder, and I looked up and I could hear the trees speak to me. And they said, "Thank you for letting the endangered animals live here amongst us. We do think they're so pretty, and it would be a shame to see them go. And thank you for recycling paper, because you're saving us for just a little while longer. We've been on this planet for so long, embedded in the earth. We do have souls, you know. We cling with our roots. We don't want to let go." And I said, "But I don't do much. I don't do enough." And they said, "We know, but we'll take what we can get." And then I woke up in a sweat. So tell me Bob Dole, so tell me Newt Gingrich, so tell me Pat Buchanan, so tell me Jesse Helms, so tell me George W. Bush, even tell me Barack Obama. If you woke up from that dream, would you be in a sweat too? Do you even know why we should save the rainforest? Oh, preserve the delicate balance. Just tear the whole damn forest down. What difference does it make? Put in some orange groves or concentrate orange juice can be a little cheaper. But did you know that medical researchers have a very, very hard time trying to come up with synthetic cures for diseases on their own? It helps them out a little if they can first find that substance in nature. And a tree that appears in the rainforest with a cure may be the only one of its species. or one like it maybe 2 miles away from it instead of right next to it. I wonder how many cures we've destroyed to plant more orange groves. Serves us right. You know, my motives aren't selfless. I know these things are worthwhile in my life. I'd like to find a cure to these diseases before I die of them. And I'm not just a vegetarian because I think it's wrong to kill an animal unless I have to. I also know the excess protein pulls the calcium away from my bones and gives me osteoporosis. And the excess fat gives me heart attacks. And I also know that we could be feeding 10 times more people with the same resources used for meat production. You know, I know you're looking at me and calling me an extremist. But I'm sitting here, looking around me, looking at the destruction caused by family values, and thinking that the right, moral, non-violent decisions are also those extreme ones. Everything is linked here. We destroy our animals so we can be wasteful and violent. Oh, we destroy our plants. We destroy our earth. We're even destroying our air. We wreak havoc on the soil, on the atmosphere. We dump our wastes into our lakes. We pump aerosol cans and exhaust pipes. And you tell me I'm extreme. And those animals and forests keep calling out to me. The oceans, the wind. And I'm beginning to think that we just keep doing it because we don't know how to stop. And deep inside we feel the pain of all that we've killed. And so we try to control it by popping a chemical-filled painkiller. We live through the guilt by taking caffeine, nicotine, morphine, and we keep ourselves thin with saccharin, and we keep ourselves sane with our alcohol poisoning. And when that's not enough, maybe a line of Coke. Or maybe shoot ourselves in the head in front of the mirror in the master bathroom, or maybe just take some pills, walk into the garage, turn on the car, and just fall asleep. In the wild, you have no power over anyone else. Now that we're civilized, we create our own wild. Maybe when we have all this power, the only choice we have is to destroy ourselves. And so we do.
Very nice. Yeah, that certainly is environmentally
That's the environmentally
conscious.
charged.
Yeah. Whoa.
Exactly.
Hello. So we are interviewing Janet Kuypers, who actually is going to be featured on the beach this
Twice.
Boy.
Oh my gosh,
Twice,
it's been crazy.
on Wednesday and on Sunday. Wednesday between noon and 12.
Noon
yeah,
and 2.
noon is 12.
Noon and 12, yes.
Noon and 2. Janet Kuypers, Peter C. Bartles will be out on the beach. Look for the Beach Poets tent at Loyola Beach, Greenleaf and a lake just south of the Heartland Stand in the Sand, where you can get wonderful smoothies and veggie burgers and listen to some of the first-class poetry. So that's Wednesday, June 29th at noon. And then on Sunday, July 3rd, just ramp it up for the 4th of July.
Getting ready for celebrating with fireworks on the beach.
That's so to speak. Beach with us. Yeah, we'll have some fireworks, a real firecracker there. Jen will be out on the beach. So, yeah, it'll be great. So what else do you have for us today?
Well, I don't know. I was going to say, we might as well also talk about the other feature that is scheduled on Sunday, Cousin Bones, which we're supposed to be meeting up for. Well, because of his work schedule, he might not be able to make it, or might try to come in for a bit early at the beginning, and somebody will have to give him a ride to be able to get to his work because he's got a crazy schedule now with this work thing. And he was even beginning to think, well, maybe I'll have time off and I could be able to join you, even though I'm not slated on the docket for Wednesday, but maybe I could come by on Wednesday as well. I haven't been able to talk to him because of his crazy work schedule, but there's a thin chance we'd have a phenomenal blues musician coming along as well.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I know I was really looking forward to having music from Peter playing while I was reading, but if I can have a double plus wonderful musical package, that's just great.
Right.
So I know I was doing pretty much all new pieces on Sunday, but I don't know if I should be doing them, if they're 2 different times, do it with Peter doing backup music on Wednesday and with Cousin Bones there with me on Sunday. I have no idea what I'm doing.
But you actually met Cousin Bones on the beach last summer.
Yes. Because I was hosting the open mic at the cafe, I saw him come in. like a little goth boy. He was just wearing all black and the pants and everything, and he was playing music, and just afterward I said, you know, we happen to have an opening. We need you for a feature. Will you come? And so he came and he did the feature, and whenever we get the chance to be, you know, he's playing somewhere, I will try to be able to, but it's a trek for me to come into the city all the time, but, you know, well, I'll try to see him whenever I can, so.
Sure.
So at least I will be doing, I'm like, we have to be able to meet up on Wednesday, even if you don't come to the beach. I've got time to kill, so we'll be able to do it, because that's his day off, so.
Yay, yay, awesome.
And in fact, my, also additionally, differently phenomenally talented husband slash guitarist John Yatko was going to come meet me in Chicago Wednesday night because Gallery Cabaret has a songwriters night. So I was going to see how many original pieces we could do at Gallery Cabaret, which I do not know I think it's on
Yeah, it's
Oakland.
2020 North Oakley. I know it well.
It's
I
right
know
by
it well.
that corner area with...
Yeah, it's in Bucktown. It's just south of Holstein Park, and it's right off of Western and Armitage.
And Western and Armitage, and
it's just
Milwaukee Angles right there too. So it's all right at that corner. Yeah.
It's very dynamic. Margie's Candy's not far away.
Exactly.
It's a wonderful place to go.
I even have a bumper sticker from Arturo's, which is right at that corner.
Yeah. Arturo's is at the corner. Lazlo's.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know what? I'm not to detract from you, my feature at all.
It is
but
not.
I'm going to read a poem that I found here because it goes along with the nuclear thing that we're supposed to be doing. Okay, and this is Susan Wicks is the name of this artist, and I'm getting it from the www.guardian.co.uk/books. Nuclear. Yeah. Each morning as I round the bend, the same shock. That flash of river light, the bridge, the cooling towers. Always that first gasp, as if they'd just been dropped there. Yet the landscape knows them. A fragment of old stone moves sideways, and through a tangle of red the river glitters. The bridge spins out its turquoise cobweb, and there they stand. Like a crouet, squat on the floodplain, lit apricot steaming quietly into this end of night. I've heard there's a place where fish swim up and down a ladder, mouthing through murk like cruising angels, where a student strung himself up for days from a concrete cliff while the canal sent back his image, where they hand out packages of pills to every household in case of leaks. But here at my open window the fields rippled with leaves and blue, the every morning noise of cockcrow, unidentified shadows finger flapping across. And that's it. That's Susan Wicks' poem, and it is called Nuclear. So that way I got the whole angle with the nuclear power covered. Right?
That's phenomenal. And
Thank
actually,
you.
John here is just looking on the internet and found a poem of mine where I mention.
Oh, good.
I mention
God
nuclear,
bless your husband,
but
John.
it's just mentioning
Yeah,
it.
John, that's okay.
Because of a person who would harangue open micers in the Nashville area a long time ago, we were assigned and told to write poems in the voice of Jimbo Breen, and so I did this one short one dedicated to Steve called Poem, a conversation with Jimbo Breen. We sat at the poolside together, you asking me about how I was doing as the sun beat down, and we talked about nuclear war. You said you didn't believe in it, and I strained to understand why. For you, the man of war, the man whose body's his temple, the man who will fight to the death, you love the victory, the thought of war, of pain, of triumphancy. And I sat there at the swimming pool while you sat on the edge. I paused. Then it occurred to me that you would want a method of fighting more direct, slower, more painful, more personal than a nuclear war. You'd want to fight them one-on-one, man to man, with your fists. And your eyes lit up. I was beginning to understand now, only years later. I'll remember you with that American flag in front of your house and your love of battle. So there you go.
Beautiful, perfect.
Probably the only reference I have for nuclear. So.
Good job. Thank you. So and you came here with a list of things to do, correct?
Oh, well, the
You
more...
have a list.
I
There's
do,
like a handwritten...
I have notes of like what I could have for what I do, because I would really like to be able to get through this. So I was trying to find ones that would be funny, and I thought of two.
Funny?
Well, I went with something more fun and things that you don't normally. But I have... Oh, should I go for the funny ones first? Probably. I can go for the endearing mom ones later. I have a whole series that I did, Singular Memories, which were pieces that were dedicated to my mother. At the time, I had found out that she had breast cancer and cervical cancer.
Oy.
And so we went to visit her, and actually from those cancers, she had a clean bill of health and lived for, 10 years. She was just fine from that. So, which was amazing, yes.
It is amazing.
But I won't talk about those goofy little mom stories until later. Because I was going to say, I should let you decide. The other ones I was going to do were poems that were from when I worked at an ice cream parlor. When I was in high school. And I worked with a bunch of boys and all the goofy, crazy things that they would do. And there's just a bunch of funny little silly stories. So, would you like to hear first things about my mom or ice cream stories?
Oh, ice cream stories. You know, I used to drive an ice cream truck.
Oh my gosh.
Until I had rear-ended somebody. The brakes were bad. And I had told my boss, but they didn't do anything about it. The housing on the truck was loose, and it rubbed up against, the pedal where you push in to stop the ice cream truck. And it didn't stop in time, and I wound up rear-ending somebody, and the ice cream truck flipped over. There's ice cream all over the streets. Fortunately, I wasn't wearing a seatbelt because the freezer came forward and it squashed the driver's seat. I mean, I would have been dead if I had been strapped
the value
into a seat.
of not wearing a seatbelt.
Right. And then I crawled out through the windshield.
Wow.
And this man, I was standing out there looking around, and I was like, is anybody hurt? And this man comes up to me, he goes, yes, there's somebody hurt. I go, really? Ooh. He goes, you're bleeding. I'm like, really? I didn't even realize it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
But you were okay, though, at least.
Yeah. And then when I got to the ER, everybody was complaining because I didn't think to bring them ice cream.
Well, I worked at a place which is still open on the southwest side of the city in Palos Park called the Plush Horse, and they make their ice cream. And,
oh, wow!
Oh, and it was and I was working at a candy counter. I was technically actually the first female that actually scooped ice cream because that's a man's job, So,
wow.
But I'm a big girl. I mean, I'm 5'11". I'm like, I'm a strong woman. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that, sure, because not everybody's buying candy when everybody wants ice cream. So,
sure.
So I would hear these crazy stories, like one of these guys would do this one, and this poem is called "Ask Me If I'm a Truck."
Oh, I love it.
So I'm working in the summertime, part-time, with about 10 guys. Since guys were stronger, they could scoop ice cream better. That was the idea. But they all screwed off while they were at work. They'd always write up signs and take them to each other's backs. Once I wrote on the back of a candy box wrapper, "I'm a boy with raging hormones." And for about an hour, every customer had a good laugh at Matt's expense. But my favorite was put on John's back once. You see, John used to tell everyone the same joke. He'd say to you, "Ask me if I'm a truck." And when you'd ask him if he was a truck, he would just look real perplexed and say, "No." Like, why did you ask him that? So anyway, we got a sign on his back that said, "Ask me if I'm a truck." And then all the customers did was ask him if he was a truck over and over again, and he got really confused. It was hysterical. That's probably one of the funniest. Ask me if I'm a truck, and then you do it and you'd be like, no. Which I think was a funny one, so. All right, I got a bunch of short ones here. This one, and I have to see, I'm going to have to probably clean this up for radio, but I think everybody will know what the word is when I say it out.
Yeah,
this one is called Cashews. Once I was working behind the candy counter, and Matt came up behind me while I was serving this customer, a young guy ordering a pound of cashews. He was a heavy-set guy, this customer, that is, and Matt was thin and quite the womanizer at the ripe old age of 16. Well, Matt walked up behind me, and while I was with this customer, he whispered in my ear, "Well, you know what to do with me until I bleed." And then he walked away. I heard him say this awful phrase, and he walked away. I was sure that this guy ordering the cashews heard him. I just stood there, candy scoop in hand, staring for a brief moment, and then I said, "Oh, the people I work with," trying to hide my blushing and finishing scooping the cashews. As I said, there's just a bunch of funny little stories, and this one is such a fun one to me because I think of all the goofy things that they would do. This one is called 4 syllables. 4, I'm holding my hand up, 4 syllables. Tuesday nights were regular working nights for me, and in the wintertime the ice cream parlor never had any business, so I worked with Vince, a regular guy like me. Well, regular like me, not like me because he's a guy and I'm a woman, you know, but, well, wait. So anyway, I was working with Vince and John was like a Marine wannabe, a real tough guy that had obsessed over his body. Not a real intellect. Harmless, funny in his machismo, I guess. So once we were sitting around, I'm talking to John, and John had his back to Vince while talking to me, and I must have made some sort of cut down to John, and I knew he wouldn't understand what I said, but then he looked at me, and then he said, "Elaborate." And Vince and I just burst out laughing, and I said, "Oh, Johnny learned a new word in school today." And Vince was holding up 4 fingers and mouthing, four syllables. And John never saw Vince, and Vince and I were just both so impressed that John had a 50-cent word, and we were laughing so hard. It's a 50-cent word, Dave. 4 syllables. Elaborate. Exactly. And that was the funniest thing is when I'm just going, "Oh, really?" And this guy's at the back going, four syllables. Get along with that. Like you're counting his syllables. That's awesome. But there were ones about other people. This one is called "In a Cardboard Box." So we were talking about, we were all talking about Saturday night and ACT scores and SAT scores because we were all the same age and we were taking our college entrance exams. So I asked Steve what he got on the ACT test. It's like a 36-point scale, and the upper 20s is good enough for a 4-year college. And Steve said, "I got a 9. I was tied with the chimp." What a card. So then we were talking about this party, and I told him that he should have a party, and he said that he couldn't. "Why not?" I asked. And he said that he was homeless, that he lives in a cardboard box. And I said, "Then why do your parents drive a Lincoln Town car?" And he didn't have an answer, and I wondered if he sat at home all night and rehearsed these clever lines for the next day just to be funny, and they just came out naturally. Yeah, that was the type of guy, he'd be like, "Yeah, I live in a cardboard box." And I'm like, "Really? That's why you got a town car?" That first. What about your brother who is here? He's not homeless. What's up with that?
That's so funny.
And I said, some of these people were cards. This one is called "Please Drive Through." John once asked a pair of construction workers for their driver's licenses when they ordered a scoop of rum raisin ice cream. They actually gave them to John. And he said, "Thank you, please drive through." I couldn't believe he actually had the construction. "I'm sorry, I need to see your license for this rum raisin ice cream." And they I'm like, "You must be kidding me." They actually, and they're like, "Okay, fine." You think it's filled with rum, really? This one is called, the good thing about being the only woman and working with a bunch of men. This one's called "Ice Cream Stain." So Steve, a real flirt, always annoyed me. Well, once he noticed that I had ice cream stain on my shirt from working, and it was right at the center of my chest. And he said, "You know, I bet you have it there just so that all of us will look at your chest." And I thought that this guy was just trying so hard to be funny, but wasn't. The last thing in the world that I want is for those men to go staring at my chest.
Right?
Trust me.
Hello.
Yeah, really, yeah. This one is called "Speckled." This is funny. Sorry, I'm remembering the stories as I hear.
Sure.
So Pete came into the shop one night. He worked there, but he had the night off, and he came in saying that he was really drunk and could he sleep on the couch in the manager's office in the back for a little bit and sleep it off before he got back to his parents' house. And Marty, the manager, says, sure. And so Pete goes to the back, and before you know it, he's out like a light. But John was working that night, and Pete and John were good friends, so John wanted to get him. So he got a bottle of Sparkle glass cleaner, the only glass cleaner that's purple, and he started spraying it on Pete's crotch. Pete didn't wake up, and after a few minutes of John pressing his luck, getting Pete's blue jeans soaked with Sparkle, well, we were just buckling over laughing so hard. Pete finally woke up, but he was mad, but he was too drunk to do anything about it. He had an extra pair of jeans in his car anyway. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, let's spray Sparkle. Yeah, that was...
hello.
Yeah,
That's
well,
one way to wake up.
high school boys.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we got
sure,
really drunk.
sure.
Yeah, can I sober up before driving back to my parents' house?
please.
Nice. Yeah, this was what I had to hide. Or I had it.
Sure.
And then I think at one time I'm like, oh, I'm in a miniskirt, I better leave. You know, and try to do anything to go away from it. But I think they just usually hoist around with each other. Although sometimes they weren't particularly nice. And this is about that one. This is called His Mom's Car. There was this kid who started working at the Plush Horse. He was this fat little geek, thick glasses and everything, and most of the guys that worked there were older and not so awkward. Well, one of them, Matt, decided to make it his personal goal to make fun of this kid whenever he could. God, I can't even remember that kid's last name, something like Mark or something, but I really can't remember. I guess it doesn't matter. But this Matt guy really didn't like him, and so, but I know that nobody did, but I felt kind of sorry for the kid because Matt was just so mean to him. I figured, okay, he's a geek, he gets picked on enough, but this really isn't necessary. Well, one day, the kid came into the Plush Horse, and he wasn't working that day, and I saw him come in, and he looked really mad. Like, I've never seen this kid mad like this before. And so I asked him, while he was walking by toward the ice cream counter, I asked, why are you so mad? And he says that someone keyed his car, messed up the paint job and everything. And the worst of it was that it was his mother's car. And then he walks to the ice cream counter and starts talking to Matt, and I can't hear what they're saying, but I'm just trying to mind my own business over there. And the next thing I know, I hear this kid yell right in the middle of the ice cream shop. He yells, "Screw you," to Matt, and he starts walking away. Matt says, "Yeah, that's what I wrote on your car." And I remember looking at Matt with such disgust that he did that. And after the kid left, I told him that he had just gone too far. So then, 2 weeks later, I went to the grocery store with Lisa, and we bought a bottle of cheap dishwashing liquid called Pink Lady, and we were going into the parking lot of Plush Horse while Matt was working, and we squirted the Pink Lady all over Matt's windshield. We figured that he'd use the washer fluid to try to make it go away, and it would just become a big soapy mess, but at least there was no permanent damage. And the worst thing was that it was his mom's car.
Mom's car?
Yeah, I'm like, I can't believe that somebody would do that. I mean, I know there's something about being goofy, spraying Sparkle in somebody's pants or something, you know. That's just being goofy. There's
something in your mom's car.
no permanent damage to somebody's vehicle. I was just, oh, I can't believe that one. I think... I'm trying to remember if this is, oh yeah, this is one where I actually mentioned the fact that I was wearing a miniskirt, and I think I should run really quickly because this is the last one I'm going to do from the Plush Horse series from the ice cream parlor from the 80s. This is called Under His Jeans. Pete was trying to figure out how to trick Matt. They were always trying to trick each other. And so Pete had the perfect plan. He said that he was telling everyone this, and the plan was to get Matt an undie grundy by the end of the night, to yank his underwear up out of his pants. But the intricacy to his plan was by telling him that, actually telling Matt that they were going to do it to Vince. Well, everyone knew that we were supposed to act like we were trying to get Vince. Vince knew to act like he had no idea. And so the end of the night came, and we all were in the back office, and Matt and Pete started to walk cautiously toward Vince, and then Vince and Pete and John and the rest of them turned around all at once, and they all went after Matt. Matt made it to out of the back office and into the blue room, but that's where they tackled him, and they got his jockeys. The next thing you know, the elastic band on top of Matt's underwear is half ripped off, and he's tucking it back in under his jeans. We were all just laughing so hard. Then I said to Molly, well, I'm wearing a mini skirt, and this doesn't feel too safe around here, so I'm gonna go. And I got my stuff and left.
Yeah, hello.
Oh, that was funny though. It was
funny.
goofy funny.
Yeah.
Boys will do crazy things
They
like
do.
that.
Boys are like that. I worked backstage for the Three Musketeers, and there are more men, much more men in that play than there are women.
Right.
So I was sewing together their pants, and I never, most of the time, because they kept on splitting their pants on stage. With all the choreographer, the fight scenes,
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing. It's the closest thing I've ever been to being in a men's locker room. It was quite an experience. So, you have,
I could switch it up to mom pieces if you would
Mom
like.
pieces.
Mommy pieces.
That'd be awesome.
There's a couple that but they're just fun little, cute little stories. And I'll start with this first one right here in the front. For my mommy. This is called Changing the Locks. And as the children got older, they borrowed the car and they got picked up by friends to go out. And when one was leaving, Mom would always joke and say that she was going to change the locks, or Mom and Dad were going to move away and leave no forwarding address. They never did though. They were always there.
Aww.
Exactly. These are all going to be like, aw, they were always there.
Yes, well that's important though. That's
Yes.
your job as a parent.
And there was funny, and you just make little jokes. If you thought that was actually something to worry, be serious about, like, we're going to move because you leave it. And,
Right.
not so much, you just say it cute like. And it's not they're just being adorable. This one is called Cocktail Hour. I remember when I was little, when Dad would come home from work, Mom would always have 2 gin martinis ready for them. She put the glasses in the freezer with ice cubes in them an hour before he was due home. That was their time to sit together, talk about their day. Sometimes they'd joke, is it cocktail hour yet? And they'd look at the time, 4:55, close enough. So, a little vermouth that sometimes they just put a capful of vermouth in, swirl it around the glass and the ice cubes, and then pour out the extra vermouth. I never liked gin. It smells way too strong. But I always think at the end of the day when the smell of martinis, and at restaurants too, Dad would always order for them 2 dry martinis on the rocks with a twist. Some things just flow off your tongue when you hear them. 2 dry martinis on the rocks with a twist.
With a twist. Nice.
Once when I was, and I didn't drink when I was, in high school even.
Sure.
I must have been like 15 or something. And I'm there with Dad, and he's a stern man, and he's like, Jan, I'd like you to make me a martini. And I'm like, my eyes turned into saucers. I'm like, really? You want me to do that?
Whoa,
I'm
right?
like, all right, he's like, I'll tell you what to do. Just go get a glass, fill it all the way up with ice. I'm like, okay. And he goes, okay, now get the bottle of vermouth out. And I said, okay. And he goes, fill the cap up. And I said, okay. And he goes, now pour it out. And I just looked down, what? He's like, pour it out. And so the sink was right there, and I just dumped it. And he goes, now shake the remnants into the glass. And I'm dropping a half of vermouth or something. At least he's like, now fill it up with gin. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. He's like, that's great, thanks.
Oh my goodness.
2 dry martinis.
And making a martini.
2 dry
What an
martinis
experience.
on the rocks with a twist.
Wow.
I never liked the smell of gin. Just
Yeah,
because
I
I've
don't
smelled
blame
it, so
Yeah.
I think I'll pass. Thank you. So I didn't pick up the gin habit.
That's good.
No. I think my husband heard about it. He's like, maybe I should try that. So every once in a while he'll have a gin martini just because my parents
about you,
would.
or
No, just because
in
they,
honor of your parents.
Yeah, or just like, no, why not? Why not? You don't do that. So, oh, that was one thing about my mom. My dad was the type of guy that we would have some sort of red meat, pork chop or something, potatoes, either mashed or baked, corn, green beans, and there would be a salad. That was pretty much it, like most every day.
Meat and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes day, and and the cans of corn and green beans, and that's what we'd have. And John, my husband's stunned. He's like, really? We ate everything in Oakland, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know, it's just what he did. And my mother cooked that for him, and my mother would eat anything. But it would just be what she'd have in her spare time, because that's not what the family would have. So this is called especially at breakfast, little 5-liner. Mom was always cooking things, eating the strangest things, especially at breakfast. Some mornings, feeling especially groggy, I'd walk down the stairs to find Mom eating a plate of cold pig's feet. Only my mother.
Oh, yeah.
And it's true. And so I'm going to actually, I've got another one in here. It's got to be in here. I'll skip ahead to it. Squid. That's another one about my mom with food. So I'm going to skip ahead and read. Oh, I love this one. That's funny to me though. This one's called Squid. Once when I was sitting in the living room, I had just got home from school, and I said I needed to wash my hands. So I walked upstairs over to the kitchen sink. Mom, sitting in the living room, didn't mention that the sink was half full of raw squid for her dinner. I shriek. Mom laughs. Are there beady little eyes looking up at you? She asked. The little devil. I'm upstairs in the kitchen shrieking and she's laughing. But it's kind of funny looking back. Oh God, it's like that's the kind of stuff she would do. Yep. All right, time for a nice one for my mom. This one is called Cry For Me. She never liked to see her daughter cry. It would make her cry, too. You go in there, talk to her, she would say to another daughter. I remember once crying at my father and running upstairs to my bedroom. I was laying on my bed in the dark. My sister tried to come in. I told her to leave me alone. Then my mother knocked, and I couldn't tell her to go away. She came in, sat on the bed, started crying. You see, I always turn into a mess. But it was nice to see you cry for me.
And Janet's got another poem to share with us.
Oh, hi, and if you were just tuning in, I was reading things from a book of mine that was published called Close Cover Before Striking, and I'm trying to pick more fun or different pieces from this book. This book contains everything from violence in America to sexism stories to fun things about, working in a high school ice cream parlor or something, or ones about my mom. And so I was reading some of the pieces about my mom, and I think anybody who had problems with this with friends, with their parents, this is really appropriate. This one is called Picking My Friends. I had a friend while I was in high school. Her name was Kim. She was a bit progressive, shall we say, a bit outspoken. She was the type that followed rock bands with the hopes to get a photograph or sleep with them. She had bright red hair and a mohawk, wore dark makeup. I remember once she came over. Dad looked at her and said, "Are you going to sue your hairdresser for what they did to you?" Well, anyway, I spent a lot of time with her while I was in high school, and while I didn't chop all my hair off, I was a little too insecure to make a statement with no meaning at 15, our friendship had an effect on my well-being. She was often ill-tempered, and I found myself getting into arguments with her, feeling stressed because of her, and Mom saw this. And long after the fact, Sandy, my sister, told me that Mom considered telling me that I couldn't see my friend anymore. But she decided not to, thinking that I had to make my own decisions about which friends I had, and besides, if she told me I couldn't see Kim, I'd just want to see her more anyway. And yes, I learned, and I ended our friendship soon after that trouble began. Well, I know it's not supposed to be, all about these kind of things, but I always wanted to thank her for that trust, for letting me make my own decisions.
Nice. Very good.
When you're dealing with kids,
Right.
blah, 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 and, you know, it's like, well, you know, you can't see them anymore or something, and that's just going to make you want to see them more.
Yeah, it makes it worse.
Exactly.
It does.
So,
it's like adding fuel to the fire.
Thanks for letting me make those decisions. I broke that
Yeah,
off.
that's what you have to do.
I think to end that friendship, her boyfriend was wanting to talk to me, and I talked back to him fine, you know.
Sure.
And she's like, "You're hitting on him," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." And she just yelled at me so much, and that ended our friendship. And I'm like, I wasn't doing anything, but I really have no problem with losing a friendship over this because she's just getting a little silly, you know, or whatever. So, I've got a couple short ones here. This one is called Perfect. Once when I was in Florida visiting Mom and Dad, I think it was a Sunday, Mom asked me, "What do you want for dinner Tuesday?" And I thought, I don't know what I want for dinner tonight, or even if I want to eat, much less what I want for dinner 2 days from now. I wanted to tell her to relax, not to worry about me. And I thought, there she goes again, trying to make everything perfect.
Yeah.
What do you want for dinner on
That's
Tuesday?
so funny.
This one, oh, this is so funny. This is the cuteness and funniness of my mom. This one's called, a short one called Poker Face. Every once in a while, Mom would play cards with us, but her poker face is just awful. She'd draw a card, one she evidently wanted, look at it down her bifocals, raise her eyebrows. "Oh, oh, oh," she'd say. We all knew we should fold. Exactly. And actually, this is actually something, I think this one is all about my prom dress, which I actually still have.
Whoa!
She made this dress and I kept it. Anyway, this one was called...
She made it.
Yes! Oh yeah, oh yeah, she did. Well, anyway. This is called That Dress. Both years I went to prom, you made me my dress. The first one, pink and mauve. I look like a parade float, I think. The next year, something a bit more dramatic. I wanted black with a touch of ivory. You convinced me to have ivory with a touch of black. You made a dress with a fitted jacket. I could take the jacket off, wear a pair of long dress gloves. You know, you never liked having your picture taken, Mom. But I'll always keep the photo taken just before my prom night of the two of us. I'm leaning my head on your shoulder. I loved that dress.
Aww.
I have that, yeah. And I might as well talk a bit about the sadness of the stories of my mom. You heard that clean bill of health after procedures and stuff from breast and cervical cancer in the mid-90s. About a decade later, she wasn't feeling well. She went to the doctors. They said, "Oh, somebody with that much cancer in your history, you've got leukemia." And so she came up to University of Chicago Hospital, went through chemo, lost her hair. She went into remission. So,
that's so traumatic.
after she was feeling better, she went back to Florida. I went to visit her in Florida. She'd do things in the morning. She's like, "I'm tired by noon. I'm going to watch soap operas." I'm like, "Go ahead. You're just going through madness, so that's fine." And it was, you know, good and blah, blah, blah. You know, all of that was, you know, positive that after everything she'd gone through. And everybody would say, "She was the nicest woman." The people at the University of Chicago hospitals were like, "She is the nicest lady." They'd like to go visit her. And then, you know, this woman is going through all this nonsense, and she was just so nice to everybody. But a month or two after I had left visiting, she wasn't feeling well again. So she went to the doctor, and they said, "Oh, silly us, you weren't in remission." And so she went back up north and had a different kind of chemo, and they said, "Well, it seems that you're immune to the chemo now." And so she said, I'm not going to go for alternatives treatments, and she passed away 3 months later.
Oh, wow.
And I haven't read these. I first wrote about it, and I had actually written a ton of pieces because I actually flew down to Florida where they had a private, you know, just for the family ceremony for my mom. And I had a flight to visit them in the middle of the month, but I had to like bump it up a week earlier, so I had 3 weeks there to be with my dad alone. And he didn't want to be alone because he'd spent all of his life with his love of his life with him, and she wasn't there anymore. And I couldn't go to tell him about how awful I feel, you know, and I had nobody to talk to, so all I was doing was writing. So I even have a book about that, and that photo that I said that I have got me in my prom dress with my mom is on the back cover of it, you know, so, yeah, yeah, anyway. So now I'm going to change theme so you get a little bit happier. This one is called The Missing Onion. Every 4th of July, Mom and Dad would have a party for all of their friends. Sandy, my sister, and I at night would get a ladder and climb up onto the rooftop so that we could see the fireworks from neighboring towns. Well, one year, at the party, Mom was getting all the food together. She had always made so much food for everyone, and she was finishing the salad, but she realized that she was missing the onions. I knew I cut an onion for the salad, she said. Help me look for it. So Sandy and Mom and I were walking around the kitchen looking for an onion cut up, frantically searching. Now, not on the counter, it's not in the refrigerator. It's coming to me, Mom yelled out during the search, and we'd all stopped for a clue toward finding this prized minced onion. It's in tinfoil. Okay, so now we're looking for a big smelly ball of wrinkled metal. This is a good lead. And so we're all just laughing so hard because we're looking frantically for an onion that Mom misplaced this morning. Well, Mom finally gave up and left the search party because she had to go bring the salad outside with or without the beloved tearjerker. And so she started to toss the salad, but something was heavy at the bottom. "Oh, silly me," she said, and she pulled the aluminum foil-laden vegetable out from the bottom of the bowl. To this day, whenever we remember something, we always say, it's coming to me, and laugh. It's coming to me. Where is this? Oh, I left it in the bottom of the salad. Yeah, exactly. This one is called, and I know what this means, Tuesday nights. And that doesn't mean Chicago Tuesday nights where the open mic at the cafe is. If anybody wants to come and read poetry, you can always come to 5115 North Lincoln Avenue for poetry readings, open mics. And if we do not have a feature scheduled, we have mini feature night. Anybody who is there for the open mic can come up for 10 minutes and do a mini feature.
Oh, that's adorable.
Now,
Good idea.
The last time we did that,
Mini
we were...
feature night.
Mini feature night. You know, so everybody's like, just do round robins. And then after that, they're like, this is a great idea. And everybody's doing a 10-minute chunk. And I recorded a bunch of people, so I have a bunch of mini features. So I've said, all right, if you come, if you have never had a mini feature recorded, we will record you.
Right.
Because I don't have enough video camera space. Yeah,
so anybody in our listening public who would like to come out and do a mini feature, they could come to the cafe and
look at the 2011 schedule and see what's an open night. Now, if you're interested in having a full-fledged feature for yourself, you can always email and say, "Hi, I'm a poet. I would like to have a feature on this date," and we'll just knock that off the calendar and say it is yours.
Nice.
But if we have a day that happens to be open, it's mini feature night, and you can come and just rattle on for 10 minutes. Or do some dancing, belly dancing, performance art show, the crazy stuff I usually do when
I could have Jail come in and do some flamenco.
Yay! Yes, exactly. So you're more than what. So, but this is another thing, another Tuesday night reference from when I was little. This is called Tuesday nights. Tuesday nights were the nights that Dad went out with the boys in the Builders Tea Club, and it was just the girls at home. I remember a story of when Mom and Dad were young, and Dad would come home from Tuesdays drunk, and sometimes Mom would decide to scotch tape the front door lock. And Dad tried and tried to use his key, but he just couldn't get in the front door. Well, for me, Tuesday nights were spaghetti nights, because Dad hated spaghetti, but we loved it. There was no meat in it. I could hear him saying, "There's no meat in it." But then I was younger. I remember not thinking that my favorite day of the week was not Sunday or a Saturday free from school, but Tuesday when we had spaghetti or elbow noodles and milk and butter sauce, and it was the girls' night together.
Oh, excuse me.
How are you doing there? You okay?
I'm coughing. I think I might have to go get something to drink.
Okay. Do you want to? All right. I'm just gonna.
Some water. Yeah, you can take it. Oh, you're gonna give me some water?
Have some water, my darling. You mentioned water. I deliver. Dun dun dun. These are a couple short ones. This one is called "Watching People Play." Mom and Dad's home in Florida is right across the street from the pool and a pair of tennis courts. In the mornings, if Mom was already out of the house when I woke up, I'd get dressed, maybe a swimsuit, maybe shorts and a shirt, and walk outside, down the driveway, across the street, through the fence and past the pool to the row of brown bleachers that face the courts. Dad might be playing, or maybe it's a tournament with our neighbors and friends, and I'd sit next to Mom, both of us with our feet up on the fence around the tennis courts, watching them in the sun. That's how we spent our mornings, watching people play.
Aww.
And speaking of watching people play tennis, Wimbledon is on right now. We got another week of Wimbledon.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
So, and it was on NBC today. But I believe, one of the sports channel things, ESPN2 or something on cable TV has it during the week, and I'm sure it's going to be on this weekend, like Saturday for women, Sunday for men, for the huge people that are playing, but that's been going on. And that's why I've even got on my necklace that has a tennis racket and an IZOD logo, because that's all over the place.
That's what that's
I'm the
about.
tennis lady, and I'm like, I have to wear that. And I even have my blue bracelet on, which until this Wimbledon, Andy Roddick, huge American player for tennis, always wore a blue bracelet. And so I'm like, I have this ALS bracelet for a guitarist friend of mine who recently passed away from ALS, but I'm like, I'm going to wear this for tennis time and make a point to have it on.
Sure.
Just because the tennis player always had it.
That's smart. Good.
This is a short one called Wouldn't Have To. Whenever I hurt myself playing when I was little, roller skating or bicycling in the driveway, Mom would usually come out and do one of two things. She'd either try to make me laugh by asking, "Did you crack the cement?" Or she'd cry for me to get mad for me, and then she'd pout so that I wouldn't have to.
Aww.
Little stories. Oh, no, this is the whole thing without, Mom just eating everything. And as a vegetarian, you're supposed to eat more things, like different kinds of beans for proteins and the like. But this I thought was the funniest story, called You'll Like Them. Mom was always cooking things, eating the strangest things, and trying to convince us to try them. Just because she likes hot peppers, or pickled beets, or pig's feet, or oysters doesn't mean we do. So once, Mom cooked up some garbanzo beans, wanted me to try them. "You'll like them. They're low in fat." "No, thank you, Mom. I'm not hungry." "But they taste just like peanuts." "No, thanks, Mom. I'm really not hungry." "They taste just like peanuts." Sandy and I would start a conversation. "Just like peanuts," we'd hear her say again from the kitchen. I'd start to laugh. She's still in there trying to convince me to eat these things, and she just keeps repeating that these things taste just like peanuts. In that cute little high-pitched speak of hers, "Just like peanuts." "Okay, do they taste just like peanuts?" I asked. They were soft and mushy. Nothing like peanuts. Nothing at all.
What were they?
Garbanzo beans.
Oh, garbanzo beans.
She'd cook up garbanzo beans, and they'd be soft because they were dry, and you cook them, and they'd be soft and mushy. And I'm like,
sure.
"That's not like peanuts.
No
What are you
way."
talking about, lady? She would do that with and she always did this to my sister. She's like, "This doesn't taste good. Here, you try it." It's like, I say, it's like, why do I have to do this? Because Mom would just cook anything. So exactly. So. I can think of one more that I can do for the mom.
Okay,
And then it's
okay.
good talk time for you.
Yes, yes, yes.
This one is called More Than Stories. Your grandchildren come over now. My nieces, nephews, excited to see Grandma. You give them a treat before they leave. Candies, cookies. They're not pickles, but they remind me of my grandmother, the stories I'd hear about how good she was. I love her now, without ever seeing her face. But you see, these kids, Claire, Marshall, Joel, Edward, your grandchildren, they get to see you. They get to spend time with you. They have more than stories. They know your face. They know your voice. They love you now. But remember, they'll always love you. They'll always remember. They'll always love you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And that was a strange... I'm going to ask John to be able to sing some notes with me, and hopefully you can even tune in if you would like to be able to sing along with. That would be great. Do you want to start it, John? Do you want?
Let's go.
So I'm at my bar, my favorite hangout. I just overheard from people talking that another guy who's always here in the past few months has had a few strokes. Now this is just grapevine, I just heard snippets, but I need to see him put in my 2 cents. He went out for a smoke, and even though I don't, I walked up to him after he lit up. I put my head out toward his cigarette. He offered me a new one, but I wanted his. Then holding his smoke, I told him that I'd heard. I talked about his wife, asked about his kids. He said I was right, and he'd take some time off. And then he held a smoke and said that he should quit. Then handed me his smoke, and then walked away. I stood there a while, sucking nicotine, wondering if I made any difference. There you go.
Nice.
How did that sound?
That was awesome. That was great. Yeah, really cool.
As soon as that happened, I was like,
You
I
have
have to write
such
these
a
things.
beautiful voice. You and John both.
Oh.
I feel like I'm a frog trying chirping in.
No. And I like it if people are actually a part of these things. And it's something, it's like it's a melody that you can just keep along with.
Sure,
And that was what I was going
yeah.
for,
It's
so.
great. It's great.
Really
Really
like
like it.
like, and I like the radio, and thank you.
Oh, good. And the radio loves you, Jen.
Yay! It's a loving party.
Well, we're just grateful that you're here. My God, you went through quite a trauma. I think it wasn't it about how many years ago now?
I think it would be 13 years this July.
Horrible
11th.
accident. Yeah.
And actually, I did a feature at Beach Poets.
That's right.
Last
I'll never
year.
forget that.
Was
That
it last year?
Great
Last year or
I think
2
it was last year.
Last year. And it was on.
It was on the anniversary
On the
day.
anniversary
I
day.
remember.
Crazy.
So yeah, it was awesome. No, I mean the feature was great.
Well, I was like, I have to try to make it sound positive when you have a near fatal car. I'm stopped in an intersection and I'm almost killed, and relearning how to walk and talk and eat, and it changes everything in you. So.
Oh boy.
So I was like, well, I'm at the beach. I'm with this phenomenal host, Kathleen Jan Matamartels here. I've got to be able to do a happier ending. I mean, there's got to be a positive note to be able to end all of this madness on. And one of those positive notes is my meeting my wonderful husband
You're
here
a
shortly
wonderful
afterward.
husband.
Yes!
What a blessing.
Oh,
Your
yes,
grandson is.
I found my soulmate,
Yes,
like
you
within
did.
6 months of almost
That was a
dying.
gift.
Yes, it was, definitely.
Good.
So thank you.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
I'm,
you're
I'm making
welcome.
you blush.
You say you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Glad I
Yeah,
could be
but
there.
we're so lucky to have John in our life. So really. So I'm gonna switch it up and turn on some music now, and I got a couple PSAs to do. But I want to thank you again, Janet, and we'll be seeing you out on the beach on Wednesday and Tuesday night at the cafe.
Come to the beach. If you want to know anything about publishing stuff, go to scars.tv. Go to the cafe and go to www.chaoticarts.org/thecafe, or if you like me, JanetKuypers.com, JanetKuypers.com.
You got your own
That's
URL.
all over the
All I
place.
have is a MySpace page, but you know, it's better than a kick in the pants. All